Everybody good down there, Gary? Good. Y'all on? Goodness.
Yes.
I'm good. No, I'm good. I'm ready.
Okay, very good. On behalf of the school board, Board of Education, I want to welcome everyone to our March meeting. That's what we call it, February. We're delighted to be here in Highlands. It's always fun. The drive was nice. Didn't get behind any cars. We had to hold us up, so it worked out. I held them up. Actually, I held our counselor up on purpose, so I felt good about it.
Get me out of the ticket. I appreciate it.
And go from there. So welcome everyone. At this time, I would like to, well actually let's do it this way. We'll have our moments out. We have students from
Highlands School.
Highlands School, Mr. Jeter.
All right, I'll let our Beta Club, our Junior Beta Club sponsor, Ms. Michelle Lane, introduce our students.
Okay.
Beta Club is one of the academic achievement clubs that we have here, especially the Junior Beta Club, especially for middle school. Ms. Lane?
Good evening, everyone. I'm very pleased to present two of our new inductees into the Junior Beta Club, Katie Munoz and Alexis Healy, who are our representatives this evening. They will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
There goes. We're going to put you on the spot. Come up a little bit so everybody can see you. If you want to, actually come up here in the front.
No pressure, no pressure.
No pressure. Girls.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Tommy, if you would. We always like to have a moment of silence, so I'll turn to Tommy.
Being military, I guess, Mr. Shields and more in here, we always have our men and women in harm's way. And the way this world is looking in the last few weeks, we need to have them in our prayers all the time, because there's a lot of our young men and women not coming back home. So if we would, bow our heads and have a moment of silence. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone can be seated. Thank you. I've already warned our superintendent, Dr. Baldwin, that if I get off track, to get me back very quickly, gently, or after about the second or third time, without too much gentleness, just get me back on. So everybody back with me. First is our approval of our minutes. We had both a special call meeting on February 4th, and then we had a regularly scheduled meeting for February 24th. I think the boards have had a chance to look over. Any corrections, additions?
Make a motion to the special call meeting February 4th, 2014, and the regular scheduled meeting February 24th, 2014 be approved.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I must say all in favor, say by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So moved. Recognition presentations. I think Mr. Burrell is going to be on the spotlight first. Let's see how he does.
We'll see.
Okay.
See if we can get this thing to come up.
This is for an iPad textbook demonstration.
Right. So, as you remember, we had a conversation in the budget meeting the other day about textbooks and the lack of funding that's being appropriated for textbooks and have been over the past 10 years. We haven't adopted textbooks in about 10 years in this county. Dr. Baldwin tells me that the state is not going to provide digital textbooks after 2017.
The only funding that the state can provide is for digital textbooks.
Digital textbooks. And so we started looking at different ways to provide content and digital content for our students. And one of the things that we've found is using the iPads and kind of going toward a one-to-one environment, especially at high school level. We're looking at doing that hopefully next year at the high school level. And I just wanted to show you today some of the digital textbooks that are available and some of the things that are available on these devices, so you're aware of what we're thinking. We're not trying to give them a computer. We're not trying to replace their computer. We're trying to give them a device to deliver the content on, to deliver the textbooks and their learning content. So just to kind of show you, to get out of this real quick. These are some of the textbooks that are available. You can see there's just a few downloaded. There are hundreds available for handheld devices and iPads and the like. You can see most of these books are done by Houghton Mifflin, Pearson, Macmillan Publishing. All the big name publishing companies have started producing textbooks, and most of these are at high school level. But if you look at these textbooks, and some of the other classic books are available as well, and a lot of the classic books are available for free. Things like Othello and Hamlet, and This is Orlando. And one of the most powerful things that we found with the is that you can immediately look up a word if you don't know it, and you've got a dictionary built into your book. This is just kind of an example of one of the books. You can add bookmarks, you can make the text bigger or smaller, search, add notes to it. And that's just a regular book, but additional textbooks, and we'll show you a couple here, just run through real quickly and show you what they're like. They're very, very interactive. So in here you may have an activity or a video, and you just see how many you get right here. Yeah. More than I thought it was.
How many times have you already
You already looked at it before we got here, didn't you?
But you can see the same thing with your digital textbooks. You can immediately define a word. You can highlight a passage. And you can't do that to a regular textbook without getting in trouble, by the way. You can add notes to it. I want to add this would be this little quiz. Okay, quiz. So then you can go back and look at your notes later. Yes, ma'am. You have all your notes here. You have your bookmarks if you want to bookmark that page. Back and you see you've got study cards that are built into it, kind of like flashcards. The next one up there. And get out of there. So you've also got, in a lot of these, you've got quizzes built into the textbook itself. I'm trying to find one real quick. Looking at the algebra textbook here.
Book by Pearson, do you think it'd be aligned with the ACT and the TOC?
Right.
This is Pearson.
And these, they are aligned with the Common Core. So you can see your content standards here. It's got a little movie about what the chapter is about. You've got a little quiz on what you're working on there. Right. It's got some interactive
In
videos
this
in
problem,
here.
you will solve for a variable and use substitution. What is the solution of the system? Use substitution. The first equation in the system is 3 times y plus 4 times x equals 14. The second equation is -2 times x.
It'll go through and walk you through solving those problems. It's just really interactive. It's got definitions that you can look up and glossary terms that you can automatically look up. They're really neat. I think they're going to be good for us. It'd be good just to have a new textbook. A lot of classes aren't even using textbooks anymore.
Are those things internet driven, or do they not have to have internet?
They don't have to have internet. So you download them, we push them out. Macon County Schools retains the license for them. They cost us about $14.99 per textbook, as opposed to about $75 to $125 if it were a hardback textbook. Our management system allows us to pull that textbook back after the child has finished that course and assign it to another child. So,
For how many years is that, is ongoing?
perfection.
And then we are going to be receiving funding for the digital books?
We received a digital learning grant.
Well, she's asking about state funding for
State funding,
textbooks.
okay.
I can't tell you what the state's gonna do. I mean, we do receive, some textbook money. We have received textbook money, but due to the reversions, we've always, in the last several years, used that money to fund teacher positions and teacher assistant positions. Now, last year, we only received about $64,000 for textbooks, which was about $14 per student in the district. And we're so far behind in textbooks, that money didn't go very far.
And Nancy and I looked at it, and over the past 4 or 5 years, we've gotten about a 76% reduction in textbook monies in the state.
And if you
But
look
we
at.
do not foresee that changing, even if it goes digital, you don't foresee them all of a sudden stepping up and saying, okay, I'm gonna start funding this digital because they know that we're not gonna have any library of that.
What they're doing is they've replaced, I think they're thinking about replacing some of that textbook money with digital learning money, additional learning content. As part of the grant, it's about $48,000. And that's supposed to be really part of funding. So hopefully that will begin to reflect some of that. But does anybody have any questions about these textbooks? I'll leave this up here, so if y'all want to look at it afterwards or whatever, you just kind of flip through and look at some of the content.
I think you already told us, but what percentage of the high school students have those right now?
Nantahala is complete one-to-one. We have about 6 or 7 one-to-one pilots going on, like here at Highlands and at Franklin High School. We would like we'd like to be able to go one-to-one with all high school students next year. That's going to be contingent on capital outlay funding. I have about half the money to do that whole rollout this year, and if we do get capital outlay funding next year, that will be more than enough to complete the rollout for next year.
And is that using money from that original 1.5 from the county for the computers?
That is, yeah. That is. We've got about close to 300,000, somewhere between $250,000 and $300,000 left in that pot of money that we're planning on buying a lot of.
So that's what you're talking about. That will get you that so far with that, and then you're hoping for
That'll get us a little over halfway.
And then you're saying if you get continued capital outlay, that would put you on over to that.
At the beginning of next school year, or?
As well as in, state funding for either digital textbooks or.
Yeah.
And then what will you do with, how are we going to address, and I guess I'm looking down the road a little bit, but there's some elementary that need some availability for textbooks, whether it's in hand or digital.
What we're looking at doing at elementary, of course, if I could give every child in the district an iPad or.
I know you would, but Plan B has to come in at some point probably, right?
So make middle school down, we're looking at putting a cart per grade level or 2 carts, depending on the size of the school. Like at Cartouche School, we put 2 carts per wing, I believe, this past year, and that gives them enough books, enough iPads to hand out about 10 per classroom, anywhere between 6 and 10 per classroom, depending on how many students they have. So that will give them more than the 2 computers that are sitting over in the corner and not being used that much. At least that will give them access to more devices per student.
How about the refresh for the high school?
Yeah, and as we do the refresh, their yearly refresh, we're looking at probably about a 3-year life cycle on these. Those iPads will go down to middle and elementary school.
Why is that?
Well, I hate to just throw them away after 3 years.
But why does middle school and elementary get? I'm not quite understanding that.
Well, at the elementary level, it would be solely for a textbook. And with, as you can see from these iPads, that's a very good textbook, and it will still be a good textbook in 3 years. And as we refresh, we'll push those down, but the ones at the high school level have more capabilities in terms of keyboard capabilities and that sort of thing. That may be used for word processing and research.
It's just a way for us to replace them after 3 years and to fill up the gaps that we have down in the middle school and elementary level, so we can start growing those numbers down there after we.
I guess my question is, if in elementary and middle school, this is a required textbook, and you have 6 or 8, that's not enough for each student. So I guess
It's
what I'm
not.
trying to understand is, if it's a required textbook, how are you going to get the materials to those students? Is my question.
Without any money, that's a really good question.
Yeah.
If you give me the money, I'll do it. That's all the thing. Yeah, we'd be glad to do it if we had the money.
Yeah, but I'm saying, there's still gotta be, I mean, if you're teaching that to them, and I'm missing something here, if you're teaching it to them and it's a required textbook, there's gotta be some way you're
Well-
teaching it.
When you say required textbook.
Okay, or required information, I mean.
Yeah, there's a curriculum, and that's the issue that we've been dealing with for, especially for the last 2 years with the implementation of the new North Carolina standards. The current textbooks that we have, when we have textbooks, are not aligned to the new curriculum. So we're dealing with that very issue right now.
Teachers are having to find things online and copy textbooks
And
or
parents
kept
can't
copy
help
workbooks
kids because
and
they don't
things
have
of that nature.
textbooks at home right now. This is a way to begin working on addressing that issue with the limited funds that we have.
Like I said, if
I
you
guess I was
had
asking
the
those
money-
questions too, because, I mean, I don't know about you guys, I'm a parent, and as the media sitting here, I'm not sure that, as parents, we're all aware of the fact that our students don't have what they need to meet some of these curriculums that they're requiring. This is what you gotta do, but they don't have it, you know, just trying to get this across to, I mean, as a parent, I wanna know that.
Well, and we get, I hear from principals regularly that they're hearing from parents that they can't help their child at home because they don't have a textbook to refer back to them.
And I totally get that, because, my 6th grade daughter, I can't do her math without some help. I have to go back and look, I can't do it.
Well, and what I'm hearing from parents is they're having to go online and find the material themselves to try to help their child with their homework.
It'd be a lot easier for us if we had textbooks.
Absolutely. If you look at the state funding for textbooks in 1999, we're receiving half to a third of what we received in 1999 for textbooks from the state.
So they want more from us with less.
That's a good way to put it.
A lot less. Clarify.
And it's a shame that they just, the core curriculum is out with what is it, core standards, what is it? The,
North Carolina State Course
and they're not providing textbooks or anything, so we're just kind of having to gather all this
Well,
information and make it.
new tests, new curriculum, textbook funding, and when they do give us textbook funding, and we eliminate 15 teaching positions this year, and we have the flexibility to use some of that textbook money to fund teacher assistants and teachers. So
And I'm
that's
all
where
for that, because I think the teachers and the teacher assistants are more important than the
we have
textbooks.
to
but
choose.
it's-
We have to choose between textbooks and
Well,
teachers
that's
and
exactly
teacher
what my
assistants.
next statement was. It's a pity that we're having to choose due to this legislation in the state of North Carolina deciding that public schools do not need as much support as we have in the past.
One of the reasons we chose high school level to start this, and we didn't start at elementary level, because most of the textbooks that are available now are high school level. There's not a lot of elementary textbooks out there yet, but they're beginning to come along. Like, there's probably a high school textbook, 2 or 3 high school textbooks for every curriculum area there. So there's not at elementary level.
Well, and I can understand why that would be a choice. I was just wondering, and you explained it to me, I wondered why we were given the hand-me-downs too.
Well, it's not necessarily hand-me-downs, but we're just trying to
Sorry.
cycle through.
Okay,
you know.
sorry.
But that is a good way, and that's a question that I had for Tim, and, his answer made sense, that you can see this device in 3 years will still be able to deliver a quality textbook, especially to the elementary level. And
It makes sense. After you've answered it, and now it makes sense.
And it's even more than a textbook. I mean, you got the TI Inspire, we're buying those scientific calculators. We can divide, instead of spending $120 on a scientific calculator.
Pull one of those up.
We can buy this app, which is about $9
And when you say $9, is that $9 for every?
for every license that we get.
And we require this at the high school level now.
And this
Or is
is-
it $120?
It's $120.
This has actually got the content built into it. So if you buy those calculators, you've still got to come up with the content. This has got the content, the problems and the.
So there eventually can be some advantages to this. It's just a matter of getting it to each student's hand and having the funds to get it, and eventually it could be a positive.
And you'll see a lot of schools in North Carolina are moving to one-to-one. There's a lot of talk about it. A lot of people doing both high school and middle school. We just don't have the funds to.
Clay County is going completely one-to-one next year.
Colleges,
And how-
universities are like that now.
Yeah.
And how was their funding available to them?
I believe that they got a grant, but of course, they have around 1,400 students.
One high school though.
Yeah. It's basically a K-12 school, and they'll have about 1,400 kids, about the same. We have almost as many in our high school as they have in their entire district.
Well, what do you do about the elective parts of this? We're talking about core subjects here, which is about 14 or 17 counting foreign language. What about your elective courses?
There are some foreign language books. There are a lot of foreign language apps that teachers are finding to use. We've got a lot of iPads out there in the hands of teachers right now that are looking for content and finding content, whether it be an app or a book or just content on the internet that they're pulling out.
What about electives, career electives and science electives, these different courses, it's not required courses. They're just electives that you use to fill in your requirements.
With the digital learning grant that we got this year, we put digital learning specialists in every core curriculum area. And at middle school, every grade level has a digital learning specialist in every school. And at elementary as well. So one of the things we're doing is giving them staff development on finding and vetting digital materials. That's part of this grant. Part of what the money's for is giving them that staff development. So we've started that process rolling. The first training is going to take place the first week in April on that for those digital learning specialists. They'll go back and train their teachers in their core curriculum area. We felt like that they could better choose their own content, like all the math teachers at the high school could better choose their own content and adopt a textbook or whatever they want to use better than we could certainly do it. So that's kind of the model we're using. And in those elective areas, they'll have that same opportunity to find that content.
So if I were to do business law, what would I plug into in the core to get the business law?
I don't know the answer to
Okay.
that.
I didn't know how you.
Tim, we thought you knew the answer to everything, I'm sorry. And you do pretty well, I might add.
But we have thought about getting that content to these other areas other than just the core curriculum areas. And hoping that being in place, that professional development being in place will help that happen.
Sounds good.
Well, we're gonna try.
Walk in your
Don't
zone.
have much choice. Thank you, Tim. Appreciate your guidance and leadership in terms of doing that.
Thanks for
Makes the
answering
stress
mine.
a little easier.
I will add that when I was in Durham this past week, that the superintendents and public construction were working on a draft strategic plan for North Carolina, and the draft that I saw included 100% one-to-one by the year 16-17 as part of the state strategic plan. So the
And having
direction
said that,
is.
does that mean that their strategic plan is to fund that?
That's a really good question.
That
And I
should
did
be
not
part of
see
it.
any indication that they're going to fund that, but it is going to be, that is DPI's plan. Now, of course, DPI doesn't have to get their funding from the General Assembly, so.
Okay. I wasn't trying to be smart.
No, I know.
You put your finger on the very thing is, it's nice to come up with big ideas, but
Strategic
where's the
plan.
money to do it, guys?
Sounds good.
We've been dealing with that for the past few years.
Yes, so we have. I have a strategic plan.
All right, I think, any other questions, Mr. Burrell? Any board members?
Thank you, Tim.
If not, we'll move on into our, next on our agenda is public comment. This is the time where we look at anyone in the audience that'd like to address the board. Now is the time to do so. Did we have a sign-up sheet? It's blank. So, no one signed. Anyone like to ask the board any questions or make any statement to us? That's it. We'll move on then. Consent agenda. All the board members had a chance to look that over. I'll make my statement. We're losing. I see a lot of not good people we've had for years. I hate to see when they come for time of age.
That's not the same thing.
We're showing our age,
Not
Tommy.
just teachers,
Right.
but like one is Jake Field Scruggs. I mean, that man, It'll take 2 or 3 to replace it.
We're worried about Mr. Brown going into depression on us, and who knows why, so we'll go from there. But anyway,
So we are losing some great people.
any questions? I think Mr. Moore might be able to tell us, or our superintendent, if not. I think, that's right, I think Kim had just a couple of changes. Kim?
For child nutrition, for Crystal Harkins and Cindy McLean, that needs to be effective today if possible.
Where is that at, Kim? What?
It's section D, transfer
Okay,
personnel.
thank you.
I
So
just
Crystal
put
Harkins?
Crystal Harkins.
Needs to be effective,
Today, and
Today.
Cindy McLean.
okay, so 3/24. And also, Ms. McLean, same thing, effective today, okay. I think all the board members know, so with one change on that, move that from April 1st, today is the 24th, I'm wrong. Huh? Okay. To April, March.
So you're just changing these people around for what you need?
March, move and
Yes,
start
I
moving along.
have 2 resignations, and rather than replacing both, I'm just switching some people around based on their labor needs.
And you're not gonna need to replace?
I'm only replacing one of the positions that's leaving.
Any questions, which include overnight? Any other questions or any other corrections? Any board member have any questions?
Make a motion, consent agenda be approved as presented.
Have a motion for acceptance, do I hear a second?
Second.
Got the motion second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Very good, thank you, Mr. Shield. Personnel, Mr. Moore, any update?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we do have a part-time custodian bus substitute vacancy. We had discussed this earlier about the difficulty in finding bus substitutes and the fact that Iowa is a rather large campus, a lot of building with only 3 custodians. And so we're looking to try to give them some help as well.
And on this position, interject, what we did was, Mr. Woody at the high school allowed one of his custodians to become a part-time bus driver. So we have, we're not actually creating a custodial position, and we're going to convert that part-time custodial position that was full-time at the high school into 2 part-time positions. 1 part-time at the high school and 1 part-time at Iowa Valley.
So for one person or 2 people? 2 different people?
It'll be for 2 different people. They'll both be part-time custodians and substitute bus drivers. Actually, the custodian from Franklin High School is a full-time bus driver.
Create so many new positions now, which is kind of sad, but that's what we have to operate.
But that's all we have for personnel at this point in time.
Any questions, Mr. Moore, before we go into our discussion items? All right, discussion items. First, I think, is the mandatory improvement plan qualified observer list, Mr. Moore.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we have found through general statute that we have to have qualified observers that are employed by the board. So we have 4 people that we would like to bring to your approval at this time to be able to go in and observe teachers if in fact there was a mandatory improvement plan in place, that we would have an independent third party, so to speak, going in and be able to observe those teachers. So those are the 4 individuals that we have at this time. And I will need to seek board approval for that list.
Again, Tim?
Chris, just for board information, would you describe to them what we were doing versus where we're going to?
Well,
Mr. Moore might can do that.
Well, what we had in the past was, when this law came about, it's been 3 or 4 years ago, when they changed the way that different improvement plans could be used by districts. And in Western North Carolina, we all decided, basically, that no one really wants to be the person that goes in and observes somebody in that type of situation and be an independent third party. So we had several retired educators. If you'll remember, I had a list. There's about 8 people on that list. There's ex-superintendents, ex-personnel directors, ex-principals that are in the region of Western North Carolina that have been sort of on call to be able to go in that situation. But it was brought to my attention that we had to have a list also of members that were employed by the local Board of Education.
Really, what drives this is the question of who has to pay for it, Because as long as, what the statute says is, as long as the person's chosen from this list, then it's on the district's dime. But if for whatever reason, the employee can't agree that any of the people on this list would be satisfactory, it's gonna be somebody from out of district, and they will pay the fee.
They have to pay the fee.
It's written in the statute that way. It's a strange, long, convoluted statute.
Basically, it just gives us an alternative to be in line with the statute, and basically
Absolutely.
gives that employee a choice, so to speak. So I
Yes,
think
sir.
all the way around it's a good thing.
Yes,
Any other
sir.
questions of anyone? Mr. Moore? If not, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
A motion to approve the mandatory improvement observer list. Do I hear a second?
Second.
A motion to say all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Thank you,
Dr. Ball.
Mr. Chairman.
And going again, Macon County, here's the one we've been so looking forward to.
A lot of hours been spent on this.
Yes, our Macon County Schools four-year contract selection plan. I think this is kind of the final draft that we've reached. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. This is what we have at this point. I know you've all had an opportunity to look over it. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. We have, of course, the definition of teachers. We have our timeline. And Tim, if you will continue to scroll upward, thank you. There's a plan how you determine eligibility. That's step one. Step two is giving our teachers an opportunity to opt out if they so choose. Step three is to determine proficiency. 4, any disqualifiers that are listed there. There are 4 things that can disqualify a person from being in the eligibility pool. Then we have our lottery. Then the board gets to approve that, and then we start the process.
Approve the list.
Yes, yes. And then we start the acceptance and execution of contracts, which have to be done by June 30th, 2014 by statute.
If the teacher forfeits down here, that just means you don't send the paperwork back or what it may be.
Well, they can either choose to maintain their career status if they're already a
To
career
change your mind.
or if they're a probationary teacher, they would have received a 1-year contract anyway.
Right.
So they'll just get a 1-year contract. And as we all know, we don't know where this is going. We're just stepping high because this is what we have to do at
And
this point in time.
there is some litigation out there right now. We're hopeful that something will happen in the short session. I don't hold out a whole lot of hope, but it's possible.
Refresh our time frame, Chris. We have to get, we could wait until such what time to give approval of this plan?
The plan, probably to start considering approval of a plan in April. And then,
We can move forward fairly quickly with the teachers that wish to opt out. We would have a form that they'd be required to sign. And it'd take us a couple of weeks to send those out and collect those back. We'd give them
Why is it that we want them to give them an opportunity to opt out?
well,
it's not that we're giving them an opportunity to, it's that we're not saying that they cannot opt out. Some teachers have indicated that they would like to. We have that, we're making that available to them, basically.
It makes the pool smaller.
I realize that, but I know a lot of them feel like that, they'd rather it just maybe have the chance of
And
putting it out there and then
that
100% opt out.
we're not going to actively pursue folks to opt out, but if a teacher comes to us and asks to be allowed to opt out, this is the procedure that we're going to follow. We're going to have, this is available to teachers if they want to use it, but it's not something that we're going to pursue.
Right, gotcha. Okay, thank you.
So if they opt out, so you have 15 teachers, and 5 of them opt out, only 10 of them get offered the lottery. So that way the 10 people who might really want it have a better chance of getting it. But you don't have to opt out, and if you don't opt out, and you're one of the 10 teachers who are offered the contract, you can still turn it down to make a statement if that's what you want to do.
Exactly.
That's correct.
But you could be nice and someone who might needs it, so you can opt out, to give them a better chance of getting it.
Okay, you've been listening, Brittany, I'm impressed. Very good.
Might have talked about this at Highlands.
Are you gonna quote yourself in your order?
The next time this comes up, we'll just turn it over to you and you write it down.
I can tell you all about what Jackson County's doing too.
Is it pretty similar?
They actually copied the lottery after you guys did.
I'll say one thing, as y'all well know, we've used those words, what is it, Counselor, arbitrary and capricious. I think our superintendent and Mr. Moore have done a very good job of coming up with a plan, even though we don't necessarily like it, that satisfies all the requirements and keeps us out of any type of hot water as near as we can tell. I think this is as good as it gets.
Anybody can do it with this set of requirements.
Well, and I think just the very definition of this legislation sets us up for the possibility of litigation, so
Right.
we've done as good a job as we can of limiting that, but the potential's still there just on the legislation.
So I guess the board we have two options. We have the plan. It's our option. We could wait, as the superintendent said, until April to give approval, or we can do it tonight. So I'll go to the players of the board. What's
Well,
y'all's
we say
thoughts
that-
and what you'd like to do? I personally would like, since we've got legislation going on, I prefer to wait till April, my personal thoughts.
I would encourage you to wait.
Yeah, my understanding of it tonight is it's just being presented to us.
Right.
The action starts April, May, June.
But theoretically, we'd have the option, we could. So,
I want to be optimistic that legislation.
The only hard limit we're given in any of this is that all offers have to be made and accepted if they're going to be by June 30th. We don't get any more instruction on how to go about doing this. It's just that, you know, the option that the board theoretically has to change the names after they've been randomly selected is out there, and it's, you know, it's much better that we find a process before the names are selected and get everybody on the same page about how we did that. So that's why just before they're selected, we need to have agreed on a plan. That does not have to be.
And I have shared this with some NCAE leadership, and certainly if they have any questions or concerns, we'll do our best to answer those.
very unpleasant subject, so. I think I speak to the board, that was, thank you.
Follow the schedule that you've got here. Present it to the board tonight, and then we just follow the schedule.
On the April 28th, we plugged in some dates, just tentatively, but of course, those could have been changed if y'all chose.
We'll make sure everybody knew they had the chance to do it. I was hoping not, but we're going to. Good deal. Any other questions? Policy, I think first we have East Franklin, we have some approval for different things. I think I saw Mrs. Parks here, hiding behind me back here. East Franklin, PTO movie night, Ms. Parks, if you could just give us a brief description of what that, I think we've done this in the past, have you not?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we've done it before. Just, they're gonna charge $10 per family. The show is Frozen. It'll be at Smoky Mountain Center for Performing Arts. And that's on the 25th of next month. They had a lot of success last time, and Frozen's just come out, and so we've been successful.
We're going to worry about the rating on that, do we?
So what? I missed it,
I'm
sorry.
tired, it's a long day.
Oh, yeah.
I make a motion.
No,
Have a
it's
motion?
PG, it's
We-
PG.
Yeah, we have a motion to approve. Do I hear a second? Second. All in favor, saying aye. Any opposed? So moved. Thank you, Stephanie. Franklin High School fundraisers. Mr. Woody, let's take all three that you have, or four that you have, on one, and we'll approve them in mass, hopefully.
Okay, Mr. Chairman Board, the first one's for varsity men's and JV basketball players. What they're gonna be doing is doing a calendar with local businesses. And Tim, if you scroll down, I think it's kind of an example, kind of copy this from Pisgah High School, something they do. He send you the link. It's gonna look like this here. It's gonna have like the name of the business, it's gonna have some athletes with pictures in it, then it's gonna have the, of course, we have Franklin West Pisgah, and it's gonna have the dates, and it's gonna have dates of events going on in the calendar as well. Like I say, they're gonna be starting selling those to business, pending approval next month, hoping to raise about $3,000 to $3,500 for the basketball program through the calendar sales. Like I say, it's been real successful at Pisgah High School, so it's something that we try at Franklin High School.
Are there ads involved in this, Mr. Woody?
There's ads involved in this, yes. So like I said, the business, they may go to Franklin Ford, and Franklin Ford may buy a whole page.
Who's selling those? Will it be by phone
It'll
call
be,
to athletes?
Coach Pinkston. And
Athletes will be doing it.
the athletes will be
So-
selling the calendars
Right.
But the coaches will be taking care, and they did be taking care of the actual.
Because we're not getting a phone call, this is so-and-so from Franklin High School, and you know they're not really from Franklin High School trying to sell you something.
Right.
Good.
Correct.
Thank you. Any questions on the calendar? As for JV basketball, varsity and JV softball?
It's varsity and JV, this is all this basketball here.
Right.
Varsity and JV softball is going to be doing a home run derby. It's going to be at the high school field over at middle school, and they're going to be doing that between March the 20th and hoping to gross about $2,300 for that.
I believe they did this last year, didn't they?
Did this last year, yes. That's what it is.
FBLA?
FBLA, that's going to be our future business leaders. That's going to be Michelle Brooks. They're going to do on the 1st, April 1st and June 1st, a Fats restaurant, a pancake breakfast, and they're also wanting to do a car wash as well between April 1st and June 1st at the Macon Bank or Mountain Federal Credit Union.
What are they gonna do at the breakfast? What day?
The breakfast is going to be a Saturday between the 1st of April and June 1st. It'll be one of those Saturdays in that month. She hasn't picked it up yet and got the Fats get it completely. They told her within that month they'll be doing that. The last one's our SWAG, is our Student with Awesome Goals Club. They're going to be doing, they actually have T-shirt design. They picked a design, they're going to be selling T-shirts, and it's a pin it forward, and each week we pin a kid forward that's had a great week, and they get a Panther pin. So it's kind of something, motivation, and recognizing our outstanding students from Franklin High School each week. They're going to be using the T-shirt sales to buy the pins for that. In case y'all do hear, we did start playing. We got music Mondays now during breaks. So they played some positive music during break time today. The SWAG Club started that and had a good response from it today as well. So we're going to do that every Monday during our 10-minute break when we go to practice there from the first and second period. That's what the SWAG Club does here.
Any questions, Mr. Woody? If not, I entertain a motion to approve the high school fundraisers, all four.
Motion, go ahead.
A motion, I think I have a second. All in favor, say by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Macon Middle School FCA fundraiser. I know Mr. Maslin is not going to be with us, but I think this, isn't this a repeat? Dr. Baldwin, you've done this, I think, in the past, correct?
Yes.
I think I've had a chance to, and then also the Six Flags fundraisers. I think that's also repeat. They've done this all year, so. Ms. Burton might have a better answer. She's got one in that territory now. Yeah, so any questions? If none, I would entertain a motion to approve. So moved. Second, have a motion, say all in favor. Any opposed? So moved. Highlands Schools fundraiser. Mr. Jeter, we'll put you on the spot. You have what, 3?
We have 3. The freshman class dinner and bake sale is simply before the art and music show in the spring. We have it here. Whenever we have PTO meetings and art shows, music shows, we usually have a dinner before the fundraiser. The second one, junior class prom T-shirts, is literally what it says. The junior class is getting sponsors to pay the cost of having prom T-shirts. If there's any leftover money, it'll go to the junior class paying for part of the prom. The third thing isn't strictly a fundraiser. It really is more permission for a trip, and it's based upon whether or not Highlands School is chosen as the winner out of probably 1 million entries. And it has to do with this Vans design contest. They're designing shoes, sneakers, if you will. And if we win, if our art class or one of our art students win, then Vans company pays for the teacher, the student, chaperone, etc. to go to New York City to get their reward.
Has Ms. McCall claimed the chaperone spot?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, she has.
Oh, well, it was a shot. Thought maybe I'd get in front of her.
I'm reading the body language, yes. She has, definitely.
Any questions, Mr. Jeter? If not, there, a motion to approve.
Motion
All 3.
approved.
Motion to approve all 3. Do I hear a second? I would say all in favor, say by saying aye. Any opposed? Good, so moved. Mountain View Intermediate Spirit Days. I saw Mr. Sutton here.
Yeah, we've done this in the past. We just wanted to do possibly a hat day, announce that students can wear hats to school, and we just have a sticker where they pay like $1 to wear it all day, and then we fund our academic foundation basket, Relay for Life, kick in some of the money to go for Relay for Life, academic foundation, that sort of thing.
Very good. Motion to approve? Second.
Second.
All in favor, so saying aye. Any opposed? So moved. Thank you, Mr. Sutton. Speech language pathologist contract, Ms. Ledford?
Yes, we have need to contract for a speech therapist to help out here at Highlands School due to illness of the speech therapist. It's just going to be on a kind of fill-in part-time basis. And Ms. Heffington has helped us out several times. She is a speech therapist that retired from Highlands School. I talked with Mr. Jetter and he's fine with it.
Make a motion to approve.
A motion to approve here, a second. Second. All in favor, so saying aye. Any opposed?
Thank you, Paula.
So moved. Very good. Moving on, next is replacement of our existing board policy 345. This is our second reading. I think there was one small change. Which one was there?
Well, there's one small change on one of our, on 770, and that's on down one bit.
Okay.
But I did underline things that are, that need to be talked about, I guess. We underlined observations made by a trained supervisor under this specific policy, and we had a question about that from one of our local teacher groups. And in consult with board attorney Jenny, I think we've cleared that up, that a principal or an SRO would not be the person that actually conducts any drug or alcohol screening. That would be at either a local hospital or at urgent care in town. So we wanted to clear that up. But we will be having some kind of basic training for principals, assistant principals, and SROs in regard to recognizing what would be a visible recognition or even a physical recognition of a person that was under the influence of drugs or alcohol.
The basis of the training is really about how to determine whether or not we ought to require either a search of some area under this person's control or to require a drug test, which is a search in sort of constitutional law for constitutional law purposes. So it's more like they're going to be our gatekeepers for Fourth Amendment purposes. They're not doing any testing. I've also found that there are extensive and very explicit regulations about how testing has to be done that we're not capable of doing on site at any of our schools anyway. So that necessarily is going to be done off-site and by a third-party provider to us.
So I would ask to push it away. And
go on. Is this a second reading, final chance? Any other questions, Mr. Moore?
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Presented, do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion second, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So moved. Very good. Replacement board policy 460, second reading, relationship with law enforcement.
the only concern that we have there that was earlier addressed as well was school resource officers and what their duties are, and the written understanding between the law enforcement agency and the school system. And we have something, and I'll defer to
It's in
Attorney
progress.
Hill.
I don't say, really, the only thing we need to do is make sure we have those in place. And is that right? Yes.
And we have something in place. I think we've got it for, we've had something in place. We just need to review it, make sure it's applicable at this point in time.
I think we can trust Mr. Henning to make sure that's covered.
He's pretty trustworthy.
Yeah. Any questions? If not, there's a motion to, or entertain a motion to approve. I think I have a motion at the end from Mr. Cave for approval. Do I hear a second? A motion is second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So moved. Policy 355, school safety, is also our second reading, Mr. Moore.
Yes, sir. No concerns with this one that I'm aware of from any individuals. We attempt to get feedback from principals, assistant principals, and our teacher advocate groups. No feedback. I would ask that, well, no negative feedback. I would ask that you approve it as written.
Any questions, Mr. Moore? Time to review. If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So move as presented.
I hear a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Likewise. I'm getting to wonder if I was going to get that, Tommy, there for a second. There, new policy 771, evaluation of licensed employees. This will be the first reading, Mr. Moore.
Yes, sir. official first reading. Of course, this is tied to multiple things, tied to primarily beginning to look at assessment data, which is part of the teacher evaluation process at this time. So at this point, we have no negative concerns in regard to this particular policy, but then again, this is the first reading, and we would entertain any thoughts or feedback that we can get at this time.
See, when we go in this 25% though, you will be looking at the valuation of your licensed employees.
Yes, sir.
Do we need to go ahead and prove this now? Because it's the law.
Well, we'll be looking at evaluations from the previous 3 years, not this school year, so.
Right, that's a good point. This would be a new policy. And as Dr. Baldwin said, for that purpose, we looked at the previous three, so that's correct.
Okay, but nothing's gonna change between now and next month. This is the law, right?
Yes, sir. But I don't, you know, again, first reading, I haven't received any negative feedback from it, but it's certainly up to y'all.
And how whatever we change with this will not impact the 25%.
Right, because again, it requires it's, 25% of teachers who have demonstrated proficiency and have worked for the district for 3 years. So.
Okay.
So unless here otherwise, this will serve as a first reading. Any other questions of Mr. Moore? Moving on.
We had a motion and a second to accept as a first reading.
I'm sorry, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let's move on. Do I hear a motion to accept this as our first
I
reading?
make a motion to accept this first
And a
reading.
second? I'll direct that you come and see, come step and jump on me. I'm getting smart down there. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So moved. We'll get myself silly here. Policy 709, licensure, first reading, Mr. Moore.
Yes, sir. Again, the same. I've heard nothing in regard to negative feedback in regard to this particular policy. Again, this is something that is tied to making sure that our employees are highly qualified and duly licensed, and we strive to do that. So, again, this is first reading.
Any questions, Mr. Moore? If not, hear a motion to accept this as our first reading.
Make a motion to accept this first reading.
Hear a second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So moved. Now, we're going to combine policy 730, 31, 32, 33, and 85, and 730 leave. I'm curious how you got us in, Mr. Moore. This is our first reading, correct?
Yes, sir. This one, when you began to look at the actual policies that we had in place, they were small and somewhat fragmented. You had one on annual leave, you had one on compensatory leave, sick leave, personal leave. There are some things that I would draw your attention to. If you look on page 3 at the top, I did redefine what we considered to be the work week, and that is tied to, in the event if someone held a gun to our head and we decided we had to have Saturday school, that we would not violate any Fair Labor Standards Act laws in asking classified employees to come in more than 5 days per week. So that's the reason that is changed at the top of that. And then if you flip over on the other page, we've added bereavement leave, we've added voluntary shared leave, and we've added extended sick leave. Those are all from the North Carolina Benefits Employee Policy Manual. We get a lot of questions about leave in the HR department, a lot. And so we felt like this was something that put together in one nice, fairly consistent, fairly concise policy that it would answer a lot of questions. So I would ask that you consider this a first reading as well.
Any other questions of Mr. Moore?
I would make the motion to accept these policies as first reading.
I have a motion to accept it as first reading. Do I hear a second? Second. Motion second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So moved.
All right, change gears on this next one, okay? This is a first and a second reading. I'm asking that you consider waiving the first reading and approving this as presented. And again, this is tied to the mandatory improvement plans. If you remember, we just a few minutes ago approved those qualified observers. Well, we also found we had a teacher advocacy group bring to our attention that our timeline was not correct under Section C, where it talks about development and implementation of the plan. So we've made those corrections. We had it a 5-day span, and that is not true by general statute. There actually is a 20 instructional days. So we do have the strike through the language that is not correct, and we have underlined the language that is correct, as you see there. It's italicized and also underlined. So what I'm asking for is that you allow us to waive the first reading to make this policy consistent with the law.
Only because we're not consistent.
That's correct.
Okay. And Mr. Henning, this is something you have.
It's a correction we need to make and would prefer it if you would.
I make a motion to omit first reading and to put in a policy as a second reading, effective immediately.
I motion that we approve the request for a revision, and here a second.
Second.
Have a motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
Thank you so much.
And I think I think I was aware on our maintenance director contract, we've been polled prior to that. I think, wasn't there a copy of yes, there it goes, contractual agreement polled, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong, council, we still need to have formal approval of this in our open session. So I think this is what we all discussed. Any other questions of our superintendent? If not, I would entertain a motion for approval in open session by the Board of Education.
I make an approval on this during open session.
Motion for approval, do I hear a second? A motion second, all in favor, say by saying aye. Any opposed? So moved. Very good. Discussions, replacement of Board Policy 703, contracts for certified personnel.
Sadly, when you look at this one, this is of course our introduction, and Tim, if you could scroll down, it used to be rather long when we were talking about contracts for certified personnel, but now that you see that probably 2/3 of it's strike through because you either renew the contract or you don't. We don't know where this will go in the future. This is just where we are at this point in time. So this is an introduction for contracts for certified personnel. In other words, this is not a 4-year contract. This is not a career contract. These are for probationary teachers, a year-to-year contract, the language that stipulates how we follow that.
And this is not even a first reading?
Not yet, I think just for discussion.
It's just and the assistant principals and our teacher advocacy groups to see if they have any questions
So we
about
just
it.
put it out there to start this discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Like with the plan on selection of the 25% of teachers, we really don't know where things might go, and we're still holding out hope for some sort of course correction. Yeah, miracle.
So that's what I'm saying, if something big happens, we might not even have to do this.
May not have to, but I feel like probably, I don't know, I feel like probably we're going to have some kind of policy that deals with contracts for probationary teachers. You see there in point 3, it starts talking about career contracts, and that's where it begins strike through from that point on down. There are no career contracts.
Well, yeah, but it's not, that won't really be true until 2018. We're gonna have
career contracts.
The way things look right now, we're gonna have a 3-tier system where you have that 25% or whoever among those teachers accepts it will be under a 4-year contract. The teachers who have career status already or did by the end of last school year will keep it until 2018 when it just disappears. And everybody else who didn't will be on a revolving, it can only be a 1-year contract every single year up until 2018. So,
Well, sounds
strange
to me
days
like
are ahead.
this could be a moving target, and we could discuss it all night, but things could change by the next board meeting anyway.
Yes. So this is just sort of FYI for this meeting.
Just let us know.
And I have a feeling that you're gonna be having some discussions about it prior to us having any input into it, because you're gonna make sure we're all on
Attorneys are gonna be very busy in North Carolina.
They're moving to North Carolina as we speak. They're crossing the state line.
Disclaimer, I did not lobby for this at all.
We've got
We've
we've got them crossing 441
All
right now.
right, so for information purposes only, Mr. Moore, thank you. Any other questions on that particular one, Mr. Moore? We'll try to get through these. Next is replacement of Policy 705 probationary teachers, non-renewal.
This is
It's just a
tied more to
continuation,
dates.
correct?
Well, this is tied more to dates, and upon the superintendent's recommendation of non-renewal, it gets a little more tied to the actual steps that need to take place when a non-renewal occurs. What types of rights a probationary teacher has, the fact that they can petition the board. So this just sort of outlines those things for a probationary teacher. And again, this is just an introduction.
Any questions? Not. Next is replacement of Board Policy 320, public records retention, release, and disposition.
And this is also an introduction. It outlines who a records officer is. It outlines what a public record by definition is, what can be released to the media, things of that nature. Again, this begins the introduction phase of this particular policy for public records.
Are you sure you didn't lobby?
I promise you.
He
I didn't know if you
says
wanted in the
that,
car
but I don't.
Any questions, Mr. Moore? If not, finally then, replacement of Policy 701, recruitment and selection of personnel.
Yes, sir. This is the same. It's tied to criminal history check, selection. There is a section in here, it talks a little bit about employment procedures, how we do those things at the next scheduled board meeting. So there's some things that we're going to want to look at carefully there when we look under that employment procedures. Of course, it gives Dr. Baldwin the authorization to approve hiring, if you so choose, contingent upon approval by the board. Things that we just need to make sure that we're all fine with. So again, I'll send these out for information. Hopefully we'll get some feedback.
Our next board meeting will probably have it.
Yes, sir.
Your comment. Any questions, Mr. Moore? We'll move on. Thank you, Mr. Moore.
If I may, I'm so sorry to add one more thing.
No.
This came in today. This is, the board members could each take one of these. I'll get it over here. This is something that came across our desk about what's called a Trailblaze Challenge. And this is tied to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. You might have seen some billboards. I think I've seen a couple in Asheville that talk about 24.1 miles on one day. What this is, there's a group of hikers that are going to make this 24-mile trek beginning at Apple Tree Campground on the Bartram Trail in an attempt to earn money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. What they're asking from us is the use of a bus. Obviously, we have our own driver, but the use of one of our white buses on Saturday, May the 17th and Saturday, May the 31st to transport those individuals from the Hampton Inn to Apple Tree in order for them to be able to start their hike. And I've looked up this information. I actually went online and jogged my memory about that billboard over in Asheville. There's some information here about it if you'd like to read about it. The events that are going to take place, and basically they have raised $199,000 and they're trying to reach the goal of $330,000 to provide these events for children. I know that many of you are familiar with Make-A-Wish Foundation, but they're asking for our help to transport the hikers. And I personally wouldn't mind. I've still got my wife.
And things like that.
You know, I haven't talked to him about that. They would probably
They would have to do
just reimburse us for the fuel.
And is there a charge per mile for the use of a white bus like that?
Not right now, we
Just
don't.
everything's incorporated into the one cost.
Okay.
Do we have a fee for a non-school group?
Family does.
Oh, we do? Good. I wasn't aware of that. Excellent. So with your approval, then I'll be able to communicate that information to Michael, and I cannot pronounce his last name, and do not want to attempt to. It starts with a vowel, and it has a Z, a Q, and a U immediately thereafter. So, again, I'll be happy to communicate that information to him with your approval.
So basically, we'll be looking at approval, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Ballin, subject to payment agreement that pay all the fuel and subject to their agreement to pay the fee that we've set for this type of activity. Does that cover everything?
Yes. Basically, that would just cover our costs.
Yes.
Right. And Mr. Morris, I think he may be volunteering his time as a driver, so that would be very good.
They won't be picked up at 4 a.m.
Are you gonna hike with them too?
I don't know. I like hiking, but
somebody's got to
You
drive.
ever hiked on
Yeah.
the Bartram Trail?
that's why I have my turn here. Somebody's got to drive the bus.
That's gonna be a hike, I can tell you.
24 miles in a day is
Especially on this
Kick
trail.
On that trail anyway,
it's
that's
kicking it. So
Oh, well.
anyway,
I'm not
I bring that to your attention for your consideration.
Rescue about a mile or two into it, bring me out of there. Oh, well, maybe I'll come to Mr. Moore, be our representative.
What am I?
Oh, you're our representative, for the board representative, we'll approve with that kicker in there. Yeah.
Well, I think it's something that we should do, if
Okay.
they're possible, they did great things.
Exactly. So do I hear a motion that we approve the request,
I
subject
make
to
a
the
motion.
two restrictions of paying the mileage, paying for the cost of fuel and for our standard fee? I have a motion, I think Stephanie.
I'll make a motion that we're charging them, hopefully just our costs.
Which it would be, I have a motion for standard fees and our cost. Motion second. Any other discussion?
Yes, let me ask one question.
Right.
Yes, sir.
We've got in this bus loaning before, as long as it stays within the county, we're covered. We just want to be careful we don't get outside the county, is that?
I think that's a good point. What we've done in the past with community groups, when we have fireworks and things like that, shuttling people. In other words, a community group asking for use of that bus, do we charge them anything?
Not if it's in town.
I don't think we have. So this is a little different. It's still within the county.
I think Gary's take that, something I thought was we tried to keep stuff like this, as long as it's within the county, we felt it was comfortable with
As long
outside.
as I don't go to the top of Junaluska and turn around. Bro.
Didn't we have a situation where a Highlands school requested and they had to go out? It was denied or
So I
something?
think that's because that was to out of county.
Charlotte, I
To
think.
Charlotte.
Somebody update me on that, what we
I
did?
think that was to Charlotte at the time.
Music or something? Outside the county?
We didn't do it, or we did do it?
You didn't,
did
you
not.
did not do
Didn't do
it.
it. I don't want to get it complicated down the road for other people to ask when you start going outside the county.
I think that's a good
If
point.
we've done this, then we should have done it for that program too. Okay, fine.
Have a motion second. Any other questions? If not, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Like I said, Mr. Moore, let us know how it turns out. I want your report.
I'll drive.
And like I said.
Yeah, they actually contacted the schools first. They called Cartoogie and they called Mountain View, and these guys did a wonderful job appointing them.
I think these guys volunteered the
Yeah, I
24
think
miles or
that's what
something.
they were, part of the deal, they referred, they agreed to
Y'all
that
ain't got
part.
trouble mine done.
24 in one day.
12 yours is done.
1,200 in the bank.
Fred, they would be able to drive the best back.
Especially on Bartram Trail. It's not exactly a
I'm
boulevard.
like messy, I don't know.
It's
I wonder if they know what they're getting into. I hope,
It
I wish
is.
them well.
It is.
Moving on, curriculum and instruction, our 2014-15 school calendar. I think Ms. Davis, yes, Pat, if you would, please.
We followed the same process that we normally have. We had a representative from each school, and representative school board was Mr. Kay, but thank you, Mr. Kay, I think it's like your 6th year. Appreciate that. and Dr. Baldwin, and then Angie to make sure it worked for payroll. So we presented 2 calendars. It was mentioned prior to calendar time that perhaps some people would like a fall break instead of the week off at Thanksgiving. So there were 2 calendars. The second calendar, which you're not seeing here, there were days off in October unless at Thanksgiving. And then this calendar was presented to the committee, which had a whole week off at Thanksgiving. So they took it back to the schools, and the consensus was that the schools liked version 1, which was a whole week at Thanksgiving. And then there wasn't much to tweak because the days are so limited, but we did change one thing after the committee looked at it. We changed the work day from the 27th, from the work day went from in October from the 27th to the 29th. And the reason we changed that was because the superintendents across the region had asked that the counties have one day that they could perhaps do something together next year. And the consensus was with the western counties that the 29th was the day that they would like to do. So that meant we just moved it, the work day, from the 27th to the 29th. And that's the only change that was made after the committee had taken it to the school, and the consensus was this calendar. So with that one change, we brought it to you to approve or disapprove.
Is there any chance, we're pretty much over for the snow and then not moving the week ahead?
There's very little chance of that.
It's better than it has been because they got snow down east this time.
Yeah, my understanding is that there's a great deal of support in the legislature to give local flexibility to the calendar changes, but that there is.
When would that come about?
Well, there's a small minority of the General Assembly that has all power, so it's not looking like that's going to happen.
This calendar is based on days or hours? Based on hours?
Beg your pardon?
It is based on hours.
The calendar is based on hours.
It is, the general statute or the law says 180 days or 1,025 instructional hours. We've scheduled 180 days, which is 1,080 hours. So we have some flexibility in there. Now, this year,
Life's calendar.
correct. This year, we're going to be over the minimum by about 15 hours.
Thank you.
And
It could be a day and a half.
yeah, pending tomorrow, it could be.
We may lose an hour or 2 in the morning.
You're about a day and a half ahead right now.
Yes.
Close to 2 days.
Yes. So we've scheduled some flexibility in for next year as well.
So it is 180 days.
Now, and if you look at next year's calendar, we're going to have very little flexibility in the spring semester. We've only got 2 work days, I believe, in the spring semester. Is that right? That we might be able to use. So, in the event of snow and the need to make up days, it will be on those 2 make-up days, as long as we can stay above 1,025 hours.
But you can use those above hours to take care
We can.
of snow days, okay?
And there's still no way to get testing in prior to Christmas.
Not
the current calendar, how they make us do it.
So if we approve this calendar and they do change it to local flexibility, can we change it?
That would be up to the board. If they return local flexibility, I would be happy to bring you another calendar.
Well, I would
When is
like to ask
when is
the
our
board.
kind of our drop dead date? Dr. Baldwin, is there such a thing, a drop dead date by which we would?
We would have a month or 2, I would think, at least.
I would think at least.
And I would ask the board to try to leave that open in case that happens.
Well,
because-
would it be possible to go ahead and approve this calendar, and if they do change something in the short session, which is when they would do it?
Usually, July, we get that, so we still have time, as late as we start in August, to actually, we would have to start beginning of August to get the semester in. So we'd have time to do a
We
new
don't have to start
calendar.
at the beginning of August, it's not fair.
We would have to move it back at least a
1
week.
Yeah, at least a week, but that's a big.
And
Well,
if-
a week will make your semesters unbalanced, because I moved this one back a week, and we don't, it's like, it comes
Well,
out to 85.
so if they're
and
unbalanced, that
95.
could be worse things happen. I mean, yeah.
I believe
To get the testing.
Nancy's not here, is she? She looked at it, I think that with moving it back 1 week, it would be possible to get testing in before Christmas. It's
Be 85 and 95.
1 week is not, yeah.
But guess what? Guess when we're gonna lose our snow days?
Always the
Second
second
semester.
semester.
Yeah, it-
So it all evens out to some degree, I think.
We lost, how many hours that we didn't make up this time? So that's instructional hours that we've lost in the spring semester. We made up 15, 50, so.
See, 48.
You're right.
Somewhere around.
The
somewhere
spring
around 50
semester
hours.
is shorter.
I just would like to
Due to-
leave it open
due to
if anyway, if the board.
Due to inclement weather.
And I'm just skimming over the statute, and I don't see, and I don't recall any absolute drop dead date. There is just more practical limit on how close to the start of a school year are you willing or able to make a sudden change that everybody's got to adapt to all of a sudden. So it's more just impractical when you get too close, but you could hold it open for now.
Would there be an issue if we went ahead and approved this calendar, and if they changed something in the short session in May, we'd come back and change it? Would you be
I don't have
open
a
to
problem with that. I just like to leave it, if the board would go along with that, I would like to leave it open to where we could change it. I mean, if there's become a big opportunity for us to get testing in prior to Christmas. And then I do have one question. Like in October, you have 2 days off in the middle of the week. Can we not put that on a Monday or a
I
Friday?
think it's
or-
what Pat was just describing. I think the superintendents have set aside that 1 day to accommodate that on the 29th, from the 27th to the 29th.
That's not a off day, that's the
29th?
end of the grading period. That day's not off, though. We only have one work day
28th.
there.
So
One's
29th.
blue and one's green.
So the blue is the last day, and then the green is the work day, correct?
Is that the way you colored that?
Right.
Yeah. The blue is the
Are you
end of the
talking
9
about
weeks.
October?
The green is the work
That's the one I
day.
moved to have us the staff development day to work with.
Okay, so you're saying the blue and the green, you're not off both those days?
The 28th is the end of your 9 weeks, and the 29th is the
So
work
you're there
day.
that day.
And we moved it to the 29th so that we could work with the western regions, all the counties in the western region.
28th. Yeah, we're just going to 27th, 28th, and
But
then
it's one
they'll
more
be off
day.
on the 29th.
It just makes a whole lot more sense to have a day off, and it's very difficult. I mean, it's easier for people to have a day off on a Monday or Friday because they leave their kids with their grandparents, and when you have it off during the middle of the week, it's just a difficult thing.
That's, I don't have a problem with changing that. The other schools in this region, school systems have asked for a common professional development day.
Okay, having said that, is it something that you're gonna take part in?
Well, we're planning on it. We've not seen any of the plans. It's just in the preliminary stages. But if there's something offered, we will take part in it.
As far as approval of the calendar tonight, I think Dr. Baldwin's point is, it would be nice to think if we held this open and didn't have you go on and approve it, that would be worthwhile because they would change the calendar law, but I would not hold my breath for that to happen. We've been waiting for that to happen for years, and it might have made a difference that now it's Mecklenburg County residents and not Macon County residents that have the problem with it, but I think the best course probably is approve this tonight, and you do have the ability to visit it if that becomes a possibility.
And, we had a discussion at the superintendent's meeting on Friday just about that. And I did not get a whole lot of hope from the other superintendents based on the fact of that minority representation in the General Assembly for maintaining this calendar.
But I think the public expects us to nail something down so they can make plans. I would feel comfortable going 14, 15 if it comes back to us, or 15, 16 if it comes back to us. But to change this in the middle of the summer, when this information goes out to the media, the public will be in limbo, and there will be questions asked, how do I get vacation time for this, that? So I'd be careful about that word limbo, because that puts the community in limbo on what working, kids are working, vacations, those type of things. Teachers, whether they're going to school, vacation, what it may be. It just puts things in a limbo situation at this early stage. And I think it's just uncomfortable.
And I would think that they will, if they're going to change it, they'll change it in the short session, which would be, we would know by the middle of May.
And it probably wouldn't be this year anyway, it might be.
It might not be effective this year.
That's right. So what
It
then?
might not be effective for the next. So if I was a betting man, I would say adopt this calendar, because chances are you won't get to change this one.
And we can have this discussion later. I just hate for the people out, the media, because of what we have done or haven't done, but created a limbo situation.
If they do allow us that local flexibility again, then we'll certainly discuss it at that time.
I think if I may, that would give time for people to adapt.
Was released in July, not this past year, but the year before. That's when it came out, was when they did their finance stuff in July. So it's just
That,
anybody's
at that
guess.
time, that wasn't an option either. We just had to change in the middle of the spring.
But it was July, so we just don't know. Right there.
The superintendent's being very diplomatic. I'll go ahead and say that the minority person holding all this stuff up for return is one individual. And there you go. It's kind of a sad state, but such is life. It's where it all runs. So basically, the recommendation of our superintendent is to accept this today with all our understanding is that if something else in May, if it did, we'll revisit, and I think that would be the adequate time to change. So, any other discussion? If not, I would entertain a motion either for approval or continuance. What's the board's wishes?
We approve the calendar.
I have a motion to approve the calendar as presented. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion second. All in favor, say by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Thank you. And then the early college.
How many days shy were you of a weather waiver? Was it
One, I'm sorry.
Well,
And-
Don't
ask me. Go ahead.
We were one day, the way the law is written, school system that has missed 8 days, any 4 years out of the past 10 could be eligible.
And then Halo mistake.
They did.
But that 1 year, we don't know, we would have to look back and see, and I don't know whether any other 4 years.
It has to be,
within the
it has
past
to be
10
all
fall.
schools in the district now too, so.
And we have.
We can go back and look at it.
We can look.
If we miss another day. But
Yeah,
it has to be all
I'm
four.
not arguing that point. I'm not arguing that. Yeah, sorry. I'm quiet.
If it's nice to do that.
I will let Todd talk about his calendar if he's issued. I just actually just put it together for him. So Todd, if you want to discuss it, then I may ask questions.
Early colleges across the state are granted a calendar waiver by the General Assembly because they want early colleges to start on or before the community colleges that they partner with. So we're not under the same restrictions as to when we start and when we finish. We are under the same restrictions when it comes to 180 days or 1,025 contact hours. And we meet those, I think we actually have 181 days, 181 days. It just seemed to work out better that way. We start the 7th, which is a Thursday, I think it's the 7th. The Southwestern Community College seems like it starts on the 18th maybe. And we, since we start when we do, we can end before Christmas. And it seems like we end our school year right before the holiday at the end of May. Unless there's snow, and then we'll extend past that. Teachers work the same amount of time.
Make motion to accept it as presented.
Second.
A motion is set and second to accept the early college calendar. Any other discussion? Not all in favor, say by saying aye. Any opposed? So moved. No other discussion items at this time. Dr. Ball, on the curriculum. Buildings and grounds, Mountain View Intermediate School outdoor play areas. think I read this. This is something that Mr. Sutton had, I think, sent in. Is he still, Mark's here? Yes. So did you want to add anything since you're here in connection with what you had sent in? All the board had a chance to review it. I thought you might be able to give us some background and some more information.
There's a lot of things going on, so I just wanted to breeze back over it. I don't know if you've ever walked the grounds at Mountain View, 5th and 6th grade, 600 kids, 550 to 600 kids. We just had a track put in by the Penland family. It is a large 3-inch stone track, and it is about 1/7 of a mile over the geothermal wells. Runs just inside the fire road. Our kids don't have recess every day, but we they do have PE every other day, and we tie their outdoor recreation time into a behavior grade that goes on weekly. When they go out there, the PTO the last 2 years has granted up to $100 per block for an equipment bag. I get you about 2 balls, 2 jump ropes, 2 hula hoops, and a frisbee. And that's for possibly 80 to 100 kids. And the ground is, everybody in here would probably trip and fall and bust an ankle if we went out there and tried to play a game of soccer. It's pretty brutal. The grass is not good. I actually practiced at South Macon, a Little League baseball team, after they redid the fields. I believe it was last week. Their grass is fantastic between those fields. It is nice and plush. I don't know how they got it like that. Whoever did the school may have left the topsoil there when they graded. All the topsoil was removed from Mountain View when it was built and put up top for storage. And I believe we got great grass at the bottom of the mountain up there. If you go up top, it is fantastic grass. And we keep it mowed, so some of the kids, they do walk with teachers up around there. But there is nothing out there for kids to play on. The PTO has been trying to raise money. We have about $20,000 in the bank right now. And they have been very frugal on not spending the money on anything else other than some playground equipment. They're currently looking at buying some little $1,000, $2,000 pieces that 3 or 4 kids could use at a time to put around the track. Some just spinning things, balance type items. But there's really not a lot for the kids to do out there, structure-wise. And that's days that they take the reward, and that's our highest injury and disgruntlement days. Basically because the kids are creating things for themselves, which can be a good thing. But often it turns into throw the ball up and see which of the 20 of us can catch it.
You play a lot of keep away with one
You
ball.
play a lot of keep away.
We have some community groups that are looking at upgrading some of our Little League fields and that sort of thing. I know Ms. Parks at East Franklin has some issues that they're willing to address, and Mr. Sutton's addressed some needs here, and basically I'd just like the board's permission to enter into cooperation with those community organizations that I think they met with the commissioners, county commissioners last month, and set up some sort of a plan for improving some of our facilities and things like that. I just want to get the board's involvement, and blessings for our involvement in that process.
I think we should be approved. Blessings.
Was NBI a part of that though? I didn't
They
think
were not, but
Just for
I have been speaking with Coach Van Hook about the possibility of us including MBI in that, because they don't have any sort of a ball field out there, any place for children to play during the school day. If we could include them, and one of the issues was Colasaja was included, and after looking at that site, they don't think that they can do much with that site, so they're shifting that focus to East Franklin. But we would, if possible, like to include MBI in that discussions.
The one problem for us with the ball field is we would like to scrape, and I think we have it lined up voluntarily to scrape a kickball field in over top of the same spot where the track is, over the geothermal.
Let's
The
just
problem.
make sure that we get with maintenance on that so that we don't disturb that.
Yeah, oh yeah, I've talked to David about it many times, but the problem with that is the community use of it would be impossible because there is zero parking back there. The fire access road stays chained off for emergency only. And there's just, there's not, I mean, it's the gravel that was there 4 years ago is not there anymore. So the parking and the access for community would be pretty,
That's why we're
pretty
building all
tough
them
and
out
limited.
next to my house. That's why they're building all them ball fields out next to me.
But now, will that ball field have, be made for community access, or is it just for the school?
Not currently, it would be impossible. It wouldn't have, we don't have the money to do we could have the money to put up a fence because we've priced it, kind of like South Macon does on that back wing, where it kind of protects the building from foul balls and such. It's about $4,000. We got that price 2 years ago. But still, to me, if you put that fence up with no parking, you're inviting people that you're not ready for company because you don't have anywhere to park them. And they're not gonna walk 400 yards. I mean, that's just, they're gonna go around your fence, yeah.
And that, I'm not sure that the county maybe is interested if it's not open to the community versus just saying this is for school use only. I think we say if it's for school use only, it may end up in our paycheck.
Right, and it would be great for the county to use it if there was some creative
I think
little
it's a big
parking
deal.
spot.
I think it's
Yeah.
a big help there. We've all been around long enough to know, the closer they can get, is what they'll do. They'll drive over.
It could go on the other side where you're hitting towards, you would be kicking or hitting towards the middle school, the backside of middle school baseball field. It could be on that side, and that's probably your best spot for parking. There's a little fire emergency access thing, already paved there for insurance purposes to reach the corner of the building. And it could be extended, so it could possibly go there. And there's a good distance, especially for younger teams.
You wouldn't want your road disturbed, with your fire lane road, you would want that disturbed at
Right.
all.
No, with that, I mean, it would be fine with me because there could be, you could go on it, you could park to the left of it and stay out, as long as you left the access open, I think it would be fine. But at the current time, I don't think it's suitable for heavy traffic.
I would make what do, I think Dr. Baldwin's right there, let's authorize him to investigate some possibilities, talk to community leaders, and let him, if they come up with something, we might be able to let him bring that back to us at some future point. So, do we need to make that a formal motion, Counselor?
Sir.
Sorry. If we're asking Dr. Baldwin to investigate the possibilities, bring it back to us, is that something we need to put in a formal motion, or just give it up that?
You'd have to, I mean, I think if he's got, it feels like he has the consensus.
So, I think, so, I think I'm speaking with the board, our consensus is we'll authorize our superintendent to explore all options, and if he, whatever that comes, bring it back to us at some future point.
Is East Franklin being used for Little League?
It is not right now.
It isn't, okay.
They don't have a field over there, do you? Not right now.
Okay.
But the commissioners have allocated however much money, I want to say $4,500, because I don't really remember the right number, already to give to you to do it. So as soon as you guys get it.
Not for MBI and East Franklin?
No. But
Well,
just for
they're gonna, East Franklin's getting Pulse Agents, so, yeah.
So you're just gonna, so you guys are now gonna look at your school sites and where you think that money should be best? Yeah, okay.
You know more about that than we do, and actually, that's
They already
really
fixed that
what I'm
thing.
trying to do
It was
here.
supposed to be a, let's not buy Parker Meadows, let's give $4,500 to the school system instead. That's what it was intended to be.
Well, but the other.
You guys still benefit.
The other issue was that Coach Van Hook has been in discussion with the county commissioners. He just wanted to make sure that the board was on on board with that conversation.
It's gonna be through the rec park, the rec park uses.
Correct.
For
But they've already
practice.
fixed up South Macon fields. Yeah, because they would do that in fields, yeah.
Just make sure you have the conversation about community uses versus school use. And if you just want it for school use, the tone may be a little different, but it may be the best way to protect your facilities. But you may get less monetary help out of the county for doing that, but I think it needs to be a conversation.
And the other issue is that he has nothing to do with it. I mean, he really almost doesn't even have a field for the kids to play on during the days.
It's pretty bad. A little more grass would even go along. It'd be great.
The discussion wasn't only just for Little League, it was for school use too. There's a discussion for it.
All right. And so next time we'll move on, like I said, I think we're consensus, we're authorized our superintendent to look into it and hopefully bring us a recommendation back that we can look and see what we can do for improvement. Next is just for, I think, information purposes, QZAB and, how do you pronounce it? QSCD. That's it? We don't have a cute way of saying it. Mr. Moore?
This is just an indication that I had a conversation with Mr. Johnny Clark, who is the go-to individual for QZAP funding. I know that we had a meeting the other day to discuss the project. There is, at the current time, $26.6 million available. 13.3 of that will sunset at the end of this calendar year. He didn't say about any counties necessarily being in line, that there would be another 13.3 that follows that for the next calendar year. He couldn't speculate on the length of time. I think Mr. Shields had asked that question, and it's hard to determine how long something like that will be available. Sometimes it's tied to who gets elected and things like that.
I'm not sure for 2014, our leaders will be looking to incur a debt, maybe in 2015, but I'm not sure that's a request that they would want at this time.
Yes.
I think so. I think just more information is to see at some other point, will they be available as we proceed with their needs, so.
We'll have to look and
see what it is.
December, January, and see what kind of funds.
Not be there, just let them know that it's there, and
We'll
go from there.
We'll
You'll
keep
let us know.
asking.
Good. Business and finance, approval items, fund redistributions. Angie, we have two, if you would, give us both of those. One is for East Franklin, and the other for Franklin High School.
Okay, the first one is East Franklin, and they're just transferring their picture money to about five different categories. Part of it maintenance, part of it entertainment, part of it telephone, and the other into their general miscellaneous account.
High school?
Franklin High School is transferring $720 from the money that they raised from the Christmas Classic tournament and distributing it with the boys' basketball fundraiser and the girls' basketball fundraiser.
Both be approved as presented.
Have a motion to approve in a second, both fund redistributions. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Budget amendments. Again, if you will, Angela, let's hit all of those.
Okay, the first one's
Involved.
state, and you will see an increase of $116,500 in the state. The bulk of that has been, we received an allotment of $53,961 for the summer reading camp, $30,814 for the digital learning that Tim talked about earlier, $9,070 for panic alarms, and an additional $6,515 for transportation. And Paula was able to obtain another $19,181 for special ed funding on the state side. And if y'all will look, there is, if you go down to where it's in those first, hang on, Tim, you went too far. Where it's PRC 16 down there, there is one in the middle of that says PRC 56. Come on down, Tim. Right there. That should be a 16 instead of a 56. I have a typo right there, so I just wanted y'all to approve it as a 16 instead of a 56 because 56 is transportation code. So.
And we know what all those mean anyway.
Well,
Angie, so
I do, and it needs to be approved as 16 and not 56.
That gives you some idea of the complicated
Yeah.
And then we can go on to the federal. Does anybody have any questions about the state amendment?
Do we need to prove that?
I think he said we do it all at one time, but that's okay. Federal, we have no additional revenue, but we are moving like we did last month. We're transferring some supply money into tutoring money, and some schools are transferring tutor money into supply money, just depending on the need of the individual school. So that's basically what those are. And we have one capital outlay amendment, and this is the budgeting of the $3,612 that you all approved. If you'll remember, back in the summer, I believe, sometime we approved for the 2 new vehicles that we got to be going to have a special allotment to turn them into 4-wheel drive vehicles, and this is the allotment that we're going to do that. We've sent that check, and they are supposed to be in the process of working on those trucks now.
Came out of our
Hard-to-get revenue.
Any questions from Angie on any of the 3 budget amendments? Additional questions? Not to hear a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve with the correction of the number 16 replacing 56.
Do I hear a second? Have motion second. All in favor, say by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Custodial supplies.
We opened bids this past Friday afternoon, and again for custodial supplies. And we had 2 vendors that bid. The same 2 as last time we discussed was Dodge Packaging and AmSan. I believe Scott is here with AmSan. It looks like, bottom line, if you look at the bottom line, that AmSan is still about $3,600 a year less than Dodge Packaging. Dodge Packaging had put in the bid that they would not go over $11,500 per month, and that includes sales tax. And AmSan is $11,197 per month, and that also includes sales tax. And I have the complete bids with me if y'all would like to see those. It talks about training and different kinds of support and training and coming into the schools at least once a month, and deliveries of once a week versus once a month. And the one thing also that Dodge Packaging would have to do if they receive the bid would be to go in and take out the paper towel and soap dispensers and replace those. And that was also in the bid, that they would ship those things, and if our custodians did not have time to replace those, then they would send somebody to do that.
Mr. Chairman, I know
That is the summary.
There's been some questions among the board as to whether or not there's any possibility of discussing this in closed session, and I can tell you there is not. Basically, you are at liberty to ask any questions, preferably of Amy, since she opened the bids and did the calculations on them. But essentially, when you have before you an apples-to-apples comparison of responsive bids, your options are fairly limited to either accept the lowest responsible bidder, which I think both of these are, responsive and responsible, or reject all bids and rebid it, if that is your desire. But basically, unless there are other further clarifications that the board needs as to the contents of the bids, you have before you to either reject all or accept the lowest bid.
The last sentence in AmSan, it seems awkward to me, the last sentence. SETT LED, is that a?
Where are you looking at? I'm sorry.
AmSan.
Okay.
Last sentence.
The monthly figure could be reduced. Is that what you're looking at?
I talk about both parties, if the program is canceled midterm, both parties will be obligated to settle. I think it just meant will be expected to settle any outstanding financial affairs, correct?
I think that means if we're due anything as far as supplies and materials, then we'll be given those supplies and materials if we choose to cancel. And then if we happen to owe them any money at that time based on the total budget for the year, then we'll be invoiced to pay that difference if anybody cancels out.
Does add the ED in there make something different?
No, it's just a typo. We're changing it. Should be settled instead of settled.
Settled.
Oh, no.
I don't, there's no legal significance to that.
I didn't.
To settle versus
Board, bear with me, I think we're this is the first time we've actually seen this, so for those who looking, if you'll bear with us for a second, looking it over.
I was just trying to understand, judging the numbers you just said, how did you calculate that they were $3,600 cheaper, sir?
Dodge Packaging said that they would not go over 11.5 per month, and that would include sales tax for them. And AmSan was 10,489 if you look on theirs, and I have to add sales tax to theirs, and so that was 11,197. And I did a yearly, multiplied it by 12 months for a whole entire year, and that's where that difference came from.
Okay, judging on as high as it could be then?
Yes.
Is there a recommendation by the superintendent?
I would recommend it's going low bid.
Mr. Henning, that's what you were referring to?
Yes, sir. It's not, there's a misconception that you are obligated to take a low bid no matter what, but that's not necessarily true if you had some reason not to take a low bid, but I don't know of one in this case, and so as far as I'm concerned, unless there's some reason to disqualify somebody or find them not to be a responsible bidder, again, I don't know of any basis on which to do that. Your options are either accept your low bidder here or reject these and start over. And I don't know any reason to reject them and start over.
And you're telling us, no matter how we look at it, you're saying that AmSan's a low bid?
Well,
yes.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
I may be missing this. I'm going to refer to the third page of Dodge Packaging, Angie. I think on those guys highlighted. What you're saying is that the bottom line by deed will be a certain figure not to exceed $11,500, including tax. Is that right?
Yes.
What I do see is there, and I do not see this in AmSan, that's the reason I'm asking that question. In their proposal, they're saying if it doesn't reach that total, then there will be a credit applied.
Yes.
It will be carried over, and at the end of 12 months, that credit could be used for other things. I do not see anything in AmSan's about if it's below their figure, a similar type.
It is in AmSan's bid. I just gave you the top copy with the bottom line, but in their total proposal, it's in there also that there would be a credit issue, and non-consumables and mats would be able to be purchased through there.
Okay, I just want to make sure because we didn't have it. So
Yes,
I went to
it is in there.
apples to apples.
It is in
there.
there.
So what you're telling me, I'm going to put you on the spot, Counselor. So what you're telling me is that, Dr. Ballmer, we've looked through this, and pretty much the contracts are identical and all other aspects. Really, the only difference is between the two is the difference in pricing. Otherwise, they are the same.
Yes.
About credits, other things that would benefit the school system.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
And at this time, we don't have anything that would indicate that we shouldn't go with the lowest bid. Is that what you're saying, Counsel?
And that's my point as well. I'm not aware of anything with our dealings with AmSan that would preclude me from going with that lower bid.
And I guess that's what I want to clarify. I want to make sure there wasn't anything else that we need to consider. Because what it appears to be is that we have the figures and there's a difference. We have one's lower bid and everything else is equal across there.
Okay. Everybody I've talked to in all the schools have never had any problem satisfying the products and getting it to them.
And I understand that. I mean, it's just hard. You always want to give local. Put your money local. That's why I'm questioning it so much. I mean, I'm not taking away from AmSan or anybody, but Dodge is a local in our backyard. And I understand that Mr. Henning is telling me it doesn't matter. That we still have to go by certain rules. So I guess for me, I can discuss it all night, but it won't help me, so.
Well, I want to ask the question, make sure we were
Oh, I agree with you 100%. And I think that's a very legit, very, very, very,
but I'm feeling like you.
very intelligent question. I'd like
Anybody.
to question you until you could tell me.
All right, Board, we have in front of us any other questions of either our superintendent or our finance officer?
I may have a conflict of interest with Dodge Packaging due to a cousin's son working there.
Cousin's
And I would
son.
vote if Mr. Henning says that.
I think you have to vote.
Okay.
it's, the conflict of interest statute says that you have to have a financial interest either for you or a spouse that's dependent on the outcome of your vote. And if it's not, that's not sufficient.
I just want to make the board aware of that.
Yes, sir.
At this time, I would entertain a motion by any member of the board as far as for the board to consider as far as either the acceptance of one of the contracts, or, as John said, maybe we could rebid it, but I don't think there's any reason to do that at this time, correct? So you have to have a reason to do that.
I'll make a recommendation, to go with M-San, Dr. Baldwin's recommendation to the board.
In fact, it is just simply, bottom line is, the pricing is a little better. Well, not better, it's better. Let me clarify, it's better.
Price is different.
Right. We have a motion by Mr. Shields that we accept the contract as of the search agreement for M-San. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Have a motion to second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor of acceptance, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So moved by 5-0 vote. M-San has been selected as the supplier for custodial
And then,
supplies.
Sam, please do not take this as, being personal.
Well, I absolutely don't.
Dodge Packaging just does amazing things for our community. They're forever helping with every fundraiser that comes around, and it's just, that's why we have such a loyalty to them, so.
I understand.
So-
I have a loyalty to you.
Yeah, and I appreciate
will
that. I
continue.
I want you to know why the discussion is so
Sure.
heavy. They're a great community.
I understand.
Yes, Stephanie, put it very well, thank you.
I didn't mean to.
No,
Yeah.
thank you. You put it in it, you put it much better than I could, so that's it. Discussion on special call meeting for June 30th. Angie, would that be just because of the delay that we're having from our state?
If you move up that final meeting in June, that's the end of our fiscal year, and then by the 16th, there's no way that I can have final amendments done and have the year closed out. So the later, if we could have maybe a special called meeting just to approve the final budget amendments, that's later, like the 30th or
Yeah, because our regular, I'm sorry, my mind's drifting. The regular meeting was scheduled for when, the
24th, and I think it was moved to the 16th. It was moved to the 16th prior to, at some point.
The summer leadership is held in Asheville the week of that regularly scheduled board meeting, so we moved to the 16th. We've got those 25% contracts that we'll have to deal with by June 30th.
So it's also good timing to deal with those contracts.
So basically, we're just being asked, would we agree to go ahead and have it, put on the calendar, would we have a special call meeting based on everybody's schedule, either that morning or the evening of June 30th? Does any of the board members have any conflicts with that date that they're aware of?
I don't have my schedule for
Schedule
that.
with you.
For the June. The schedule has a lot of things going on. I just don't know about it.
Okay.
And June the 30th is on what day?
Monday.
Monday.
Well, as far as we know, we still have a quorum that could be there, then, my standing rank. Stephanie can check hers, but we'd still have 4 there, and I think, Angie, that date would work out absolutely the best for you, correct, given what's time?
Yes.
So I'll entertain a motion that we go ahead and approve, we'll have a special call meeting for the 30th of June.
I make a motion to have a special call meeting June 30th.
I'm going to second.
Second.
Have a motion second. All in favor, say by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Still turning over the page. I think I haven't missed anything yet, I don't think. I just jinxed myself. I just jinxed myself. All right, here we go. Approval items, a Board of Education resolution, teacher contracts. I had received something, recommended resolutions, and I had given it to both our superintendent and to our counselor to look at. And John and Dr. Vaughn, I'll shut up now, let y'all explain what we're doing, and then I think either Gary, I'll have a comment about it.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. My comment would be that this board has always been a support of the teachers of Macon County.
You're stealing my words, Chris.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Tom. Go ahead.
And with that understanding, and as we move forward with the plan that we are legally bound to do, we can still voice our opposition This board can voice its opposition to this legislation through this resolution. This resolution does not go to the same extent that other boards have in terms of they've gone as far as going into litigation with the state in opposition to this new legislation. I think that this does send a message to the teachers of Macon County that this board does support them. I'm in support of this resolution.
I'm happy to answer any questions you have about it. I could go on and on about it, but everybody's had a chance to review it. I would just say in brief that, like Dr. Baldwin said, it does not signal open defiance of the law in a beginning of litigation or anything to that extent, but does say that the board is generally opposed to this manner of ending career status for teachers. Requests that the 25% funds be set aside for local creation of a teacher retention plan, and sort of points out that there are challenges to, there are legal challenges to the current scheme as it's been presented to us. That we're not sure it's legal what the state has asked us to do. So that's what it does, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
I will say I think John chose the best of the two. I think we actually had two to choose from. And John and I both, and I think Dr. Baldwin, all three agreed, this one was the most tactful and diplomatic. It expressed what we want, but it wasn't confrontational, so I thought it was good. Any other comments? Any of the board members?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the resolution.
A motion and a second to approve the resolution. I totally agree. I think we're supporting teachers. In fact, I think Missy is the one that said that from the very get-go. That was very good. So, any other discussion? All in favor, someone saying aye? Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Very good. Update on formation of the Macon County Schools Emergency Task Force. Dr. Baldwin?
Basically, the emergency task force met for our first meeting. Was that last week? Last Monday we had a very good first meeting. We've got some things that we need to work on, but it was just giving the board an update that we're moving forward with that, and we have made some progress last week. Good. Dan, you want to add anything?
No, sir.
Mr. Shields was on that task force. Would you like to add anything, Mr. Shields?
No, I think everything's moving forward to help Mr. Moore and law enforcement. I think we're making progress.
Law enforcement, especially, they're helping guide us, and we're appreciative.
Discussion of any coming events, Dr. Baldwin?
Just to let you know that spring break is going to be on the week of April the 14th. So,
Coming up in a hurry.
And the 12-month employees will be on 4/10s that week, so they will have only 4 work days that week.
Mr. Chairman, don't throw anything at me, but there is a need for a short closed session.
Okay, I probably will.
For purpose set out in 143-18.1186 to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment, or conditions of initial employment of an individual public officer or employee. Again, it'll be very brief, and do not anticipate any action to be taken.
We'll take it afterwards. And we'll probably have to go in with, it's all right, so we take a small break during that if we want to, okay. So we have.
I would suggest you take a 5-minute recess
before we go in. So at this point, I'm thinking, we'll take a 5-minute recess and we'll come back and consider. Christian suggested we need to go into closed session. Let's take that. Just to stretch.